every night while Rome slept, while my generals rested from planning wars, while senators dreamed of power, while the greatest empire in history lay quiet under the stars. I sat alone, one candle, one scroll, writing words I never intended any living soul to read. My name is Aurelius. I commanded legions. I ruled millions. I held the fate of civilization in my hands, and every night I wrote because I was terrified of losing my mind. For nearly 20 years I carried a secret. Not a secret of war, not a political conspiracy, something far more dangerous, a secret of doubt. You see, the world saw an emperor, confident, decisive, the philosopher king who had mastered his emotions and conquered his fears. But alone in those midnight hours, I was something else entirely, a man fighting demons that no army could defeat, a mind at war with itself. Tonight I will show you what I wrote in that darkness, the private conversations I had with my own soul, the desperate attempts to hold myself together while an empire demanded I be unbreakable. What you call my meditations was never meant to be philosophy, it was survival, and perhaps that is exactly why it might save you too. It started during the Parthian campaign. I was 40 years old, emperor of Rome for 3 years, commander of the most powerful military force the world had ever seen, and I was falling apart, not visibly, never visibly. An emperor cannot show weakness. A single crack in the facade and the wolves begin circling. So I smiled in public. I made decisions with apparent confidence. I played the role of the unshakable ruler. But at night, when the mask came off, the truth emerged. I could not sleep. My mind raced with every decision I had made that day. Had I been too harsh with that senator, too lenient with that general? Would my choice send men to their deaths? Would my mercy be seen as weakness? The weight was crushing me, slowly, invisibly, but crushing me nonetheless. One night I could bear it no longer. I took out a scroll, one meant for military reports, and I began to write. Not plans, not strategies, just thoughts, raw, unfiltered, the things I could never say aloud. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. I was not philosophizing. I was begging myself to believe something that might keep me sane. That was the first entry, the first conversation with myself, the beginning of what would become 20 years of midnight confessions. Over the years, my midnight writing became a ritual, a discipline, the 1 hour of the day that belonged entirely to truth. Here is what I discovered in that darkness. The first lesson. Your mind is a battlefield before any real battle begins. Every morning I would write myself a warning. Begin each day by telling yourself, today I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. This sounds pessimistic, does it not? Like I expected the worst from humanity. But you misunderstand. I was not predicting darkness. I was preparing for it. When you expect nothing but sunshine and receive storms, you are destroyed. When you prepare for storms and receive sunshine, you are grateful. I wrote these words not because I was negative, but because I refused to be naive. And there is a profound difference between the two. The second lesson. The obstacle becomes the way. When plague swept through my armies and killed thousands, when Germanic tribes destroyed 3 of my best legions, when my own trusted advisors betrayed me for political gain, I wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This was not positive thinking. This was survival strategy. Every obstacle I faced contained within it the seed of an equal or greater advantage. The plague that killed my soldiers also killed the enemy's soldiers, and they had no system to replace their losses. The betrayals revealed who could truly be trusted. The military defeats taught lessons that prevented greater disasters. I did not write this because I naturally believed it. I wrote it to make myself believe it. And slowly, through repetition, through forcing the words onto the page night after night, it became true. The third lesson: you are dying every day. Think of yourself as dead, I wrote. You have lived your life. Now take what is left and live it properly. Most people fear these words. They think them morbid, depressing. They are the most liberating words I ever wrote. When you accept, truly accept, that you are dying right now, not someday in the distant future, but right now with every breath, something remarkable happens. You stop wasting time on petty grievances. You stop caring what fools think of you. You stop postponing the life you actually want to live. Death is not the enemy. Wasting the life you have while fearing the death you cannot prevent, that is the enemy. But I must be honest with you. There were nights when the writing did not help. Nights when no philosophy could touch the pain. When my wife Faustina died after 30 years of marriage, I wrote nothing for weeks. What words could capture that loss? What Stoic principle could fill that emptiness? When my children died, and I buried more children than any parent should, I sat with blank scrolls and wept. Philosophy is not armor against grief. It never claims to be. The Stoic does not refuse to feel pain. The Stoic feels it fully and then chooses how to carry it forward. On those darkest nights, I wrote something different. Not wisdom, not principles, just truth. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. I did not believe it when I wrote it. I was trying to believe it. I was reaching for something to hold on to while drowning in sorrow. And here is what I learned. Sometimes you must write the truth before you can feel it. Sometimes the words must come first and the heart follows later. I wrote myself through grief, not past it, through it. The writing did not make the pain disappear. It gave me a container for the pain, a place to put it, a way to examine it without being consumed by it. If you are suffering right now, hear me. You do not need to feel better before you write. Write your way toward feeling better. The page can hold what you cannot. So how do you start your own midnight practice? Let me tell you what worked for me. First, choose your time. Mine was midnight because that was when the world left me alone. Yours might be early morning or during lunch. The time matters less than the consistency. Same time every day, no exceptions. Second, write to yourself, not for others. The moment you imagine someone reading your words, you begin to perform. You edit yourself. You become a writer instead of a person thinking on paper. Write as if these words will be burned the moment you finish, because in a sense they should be. Third, start with the day. What happened? What disturbed you? What are you afraid of tomorrow? Begin with the specific and the philosophy will emerge on its own. Fourth, do not wait for wisdom. I did not sit down knowing what profound truth I would discover. I sat down confused, frustrated, scared, and wrote my way toward clarity. The insight comes from the writing, not before it. Fifth, be honest, brutally honest. These pages are the one place you never need to pretend. If you are angry, write anger. If you are petty, write pettiness. If you are afraid, write fear. The truth, even ugly truth, is the soil from which growth comes. I never meant for anyone to read my midnight writings. They were published after my death by people who thought them valuable. And perhaps they were right. But their value came precisely because they were never meant to be valuable. They were raw. They were desperate. They were real. Your journal can be the same. I ruled Rome for 19 years. I fought wars that preserved civilization. I made decisions that affected millions of lives. But if you ask me what I am most proud of, it is this: I made it through. Night after night, year after year, I found a way to hold myself together when everything inside me wanted to fall apart, and I did it one page at a time. The world does not need to see your midnight writings, but you need to write them. Start tonight. One candle, one page, one honest conversation with the person you are when no one is watching. The words you write may never be read by another soul, or they may outlive empires. You will not know until you begin. I am Aurelius, and this was my midnight secret. If this story moved you, consider subscribing. I share one piece of ancient wisdom every week, lessons from the men who built and ruled the greatest empire in history. The next video tells the story of the farmer who became dictator of Rome, and then gave all the power back. Click here to watch.